All right, welcome to another great episode of Tampa Fishing Outfitters Fishing
Live
Show.
fishing report.
It's live. It's live. We're here. We're live.
Live bait.
Capt Rick's in the house.
I'm
Captain
back.
Travis.
He's back.
And me, myself, and I, Captain Jason. We're talking fishing. We're going to be talking fishing after the show. This show is going to be cut a little short because me and Captain Travis, Captain Rick, are going to be talking tarpon fishing at 6:30. Don't run your mouth. Don't run your mouth. I included you. And we're going to be talking tarpon fishing. And so at 6:30 at the store, if you guys want to, if you got last minute on your way home and you got some time to swing in, we'd love to teach you a couple tricks and tips. And at worst, we'll make fun of Travis for an hour. I mean, either way, we'll have fun with it.
That's easy.
Sorry, dude.
Right? Yeah, that's easy.
I mean,
no issues there.
I mean,
big shoulders.
hey, yeah, you
Hey,
gotta have in this
big,
group.
big shoulders, brother. But
stop in is tonight. Tonight, literally like 30 minutes away from liftoff, we're gonna be having a seminar.
Yep.
So we're gonna cut this, make it short and sweet, and we're gonna have fun with it as usual. And Captain Rick,
Yo.
you're gonna start this deal off with some fish talk because you ain't been here.
Well.
tarpon, man. I think Rick may have been the first one out of all of us to land a tarpon this season.
I got the first tarpon this year.
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
I think possibly he did.
Well,
Hammered down.
Hammer down. Size don't count, baby.
Went 1 for 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I know where you are. I'll be there tomorrow. I just need a tarpon.
See you there.
See you there. See you there, bud.
Don't
Yeah.
be square. Give
Yeah,
me the
1
fun
for
one.
7. We jumped 3, got 1 to the boat, and lost.
How many gar?
2 gar.
2 gar.
2 gar.
The gars are mixed in
Yeah,
with them.
That 1 gar was a dandy, son. He was almost as long as this table.
Thing
Big
scared
around
me,
as a
man.
freaking coffee can.
Dude, them gar are gnarly.
He was gnarly.
They are. Oh, and they'll trick you too, especially in that area, because he'll be bulldogging and you're like, oh, it's a tarpon that didn't jump, you know? And he rolls over and he's got that flash to him, and all of a sudden that nose comes up and you go, ooh.
The second gar we
That's a
caught,
toothy critter.
we had a catfish on, and the gar
Ate the catfish?
wrapped around the line.
Oh, a twofer.
Got his line.
A
Got the line
twofer.
caught in his beak.
Have you
but,
ever done that? A
yeah.
gar and a catfish
Yeah,
in the
same
same
time.
swing.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, a few months back, Rick got to witness
I
the
saw
dooley
it.
trout.
I saw it.
The dooley trout.
What was impressive about that is I've caught 2 fish on artificials before.
Right.
Never have I seen 2 fish caught on a single hook.
That's pretty good.
It was an insane trout bite, and the first trout came up and ate the bait, and I really don't understand how this happens, where the hook is through and the bait's still on the
I
hook.
don't know how I did that.
It blows my mind, but the line was through the first fish's mouth, so the bait was floating off. He's reeling it in, and the second fish come up and ate it. And he had 2 of them on the line.
Yeah, I saw
Crank-
it.
and it was
I
right
watched
there.
happen.
It's pretty cool. But what I was going to say is, last week we did a dually on catfish.
You did.
You know those flats, the Thundercats, when they school up and they just get super aggressive. I
So
had
you got
one
2
eat
on one
and
hook?
well, not on a hook. We had a roller.
Okay, a roller.
So yeah, we got a
Okay.
roller. So the one ate the bait and the other one come up and was, you know how they'll just get all gnarly on each other, and the one got tangled up. So he did a twofer. So instead of -1 on the cats, he got a +1.
you got plus
That
1.
those
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. That's skill. So we give him the skill points on that. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about fishing.
Did you just go? You wasted 5 minutes of show talking about catfish.
Hey,
That wasn't 5
catfish
minutes.
need love too. It's
Hey,
not really. I tell people.
Everybody need a little love.
I tell people
Give 'em warm.
when we catch a catfish, it's not a fishing trip until you catch a catfish.
It's not official anyway.
That's right. It's just a fishing adventure. It's not a real trip until you get that first kitty cat in the boat.
Hey, I got a question. This and it kind of stems into maybe our conversation tonight. But
Bait?
I'd like to
Oh.
ask the viewers too. What do y'all think about catfish for bait?
I've never tried it, man. I don't like handling those
Like-
things. I hear that tarpon eat them.
100%.
I-
And
I-
cobias.
Yeah,
And cobias.
I'm not using
But I'd be
them, dude.
curious to see if any of our
Not doing it.
viewers or listeners out there have ever used catfish for bait.
I know the old timers used to use a fillet, like fillet the cat.
The old timers used to write checks at the store too.
Shut your mouth.
Rick,
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with y'all?
Let me ask our
Hey,
listeners.
let me ask you this.
Who goes to the store with their checkbook and writes a check still?
Okay,
Hey,
next time I hire
hey.
y'all for an event,
True. Hey, I'll give you that.
hey, and I'm
Hey.
paying out,
He's gonna run his card. You're gonna run his card.
you're going to run my card.
Oh, my God.
You sure happy to get that check on an event? Yeah, Rick writes checks. Yeah. Come down here to buy me some rain gear. Oh, he's writing a check.
You held the whole register up. You shut the store down. Their
That's the
sales
store's fault.
because they didn't know what to do. That's
They
so
got
ace.
it. Rick got him some new rain gear.
Got me some rain gear, baby.
Gonna be
That's
looking
some
good out
grinders.
there at the marker. Gonna be smelling good.
I'm going to look good
You're
out
gonna
there.
look good.
Brian says cut the barbs off for grouper. I'm sure anything will eat catfish. I just
It's
I don't know.
it's smelly. You know, the only thing is
It's gross.
yeah, getting over all the nastiness with it.
Slime
But they
and-
will eat them, man. I tell you one place that we used to fish, and there's a name. I think hardheads.
Hard heads.
You do hardheads, and it's just you take them, and you don't want big ones,
No.
but you take a small one or hardtails, and you can just cut the tail off, cut the head off, cut the barbs off, and it's almost just like a chunk. And we used to, back in the day, I remember, because we used to catch a lot of catfish in Apollo Beach, and we'd fish the power plant with catfish on the bottom for those big cobia coming through the channel there. And we caught
Are
quite
you
a few
fishing
fish.
alive?
No, dead.
Dead.
No, cut bait on the bottom.
Okay.
Yep, cut bait on the bottom. But you know, I throw that out there because between cobia and tarpon, there's a lot of guys old school that'll use catfish for cut bait on the bottom. Sharks will eat them.
Mhm.
Stingray will eat them.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's-
up north, up in the Panhandle, you know, Destin, when they have the big cobia run up there, a lot of guys will go fishing dock lights and stuff at night and catch catfish for bait.
Well, like
to
I think
use,
you
so
mentioned it
I
before.
thought
It was a
mentioned-
good theory. Yeah, a lot of tarpon are kind of garbage can fish.
they're trash cans.
so are
man.
big snook. I mean,
I relate to them the same exact way, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in the seminar tonight. And it goes with a lot of different species. Like
a
you
lot
may
of
target
big species.
you may-
because they're lazy.
Well, let's just say you could take the main ones. Let's just take our game fish. So snook, redfish, trout, and tarpon. There's a way that you're going to target smaller juvenile tarpon. There's a way that you're going to target,
for sure.
for the most part, smaller, medium-sized trout, smaller, medium-sized redfish, and smaller, medium-sized tarpon. When you start to move to the bigger class stuff,
The lazy
you
ones.
you
Like
change
Jason
your
said, lazy.
tactic because the fish changes its
Yep.
patterns and the way it feeds and moves and areas and so on and so forth. And so, you know, any kind of fish, depending on where you're at and really the size on some level that you're targeting, you may change everything completely
Mhm.
for what you're doing, catching the same exact species.
Sure.
Because through their lifespan, they change their patterns and baits and how they feed and all that jazz. So that's a good topic to cover when you cover it, because people will
As
ask.
do humans.
And I did a seminar a few weeks ago, or last week, sorry, for old salts, and we talked some snook fishing. They wanted to talk snook, so the general conversation was whitebait, you know, chum, free line, cork.
Sounds like spring fishing.
Yeah, well, you know, just snook fishing in general. And then a guy kind of raised his hand in the back and he goes, "Well, what about catching big snook?" And I said, well, now we turn the page. And for me, I do things different. You know, it's a bigger live bait, whether it's a pinfish or a big greenback or a big threadfin, big sand perch, mahara, or a mullet, a cut bait, you know, a cut mullet, a cut ladyfish, a cut pinfish. That's what I'm going to do if I'm going to go target big fish and kind of isolate myself away from catching the smaller fish, even if they're around. Now, what you'll find is if you fish cut bait and you're fishing smaller pieces of cut bait, you'll still catch 22, 24-inch snook, redfish, you know, and even trout. That's another one that, talking
I've
cut
not
bait.
caught a lot of trout. I've caught them
Man,
on cut bait, but not a lot.
I'm telling you,
I've called it.
Not a
particularly
good trout
down in
fisherman
South Florida, say from Lemon Bay down to Pine Island. For whatever reason, man, we have
you ever
caught
used
a
live bait
lot.
up there?
Yeah, yeah.
I talked to you. Use a cut.
Well, cut bait is
Well,
a,
because bait's such a pain to get down there compared to here in early times of the year.
I
mean,
think
Boca
too
Grande
it's the
just
style
doesn't have-
of that fishery in the estuary. I mean,
yeah, because they don't
when you're-
have bait like we do.
well, and you're fishing a lot of heavy grass, and a lot of times, like
They
where
don't.
we're
Boca
fishing,
Grande, they don't have deep water towers and bridges really.
there's some guys that
But,
like
I mean,
us
it's
will
not
get
like
it.
here.
It's not like our shipping channel. It's not like that gateway the golf
They
that we have.
work
that,
to get
that
Do they get it on the flats there?
They do,
Yes.
but it's work early spring,
the one thing that I will say is that
which
they've-
is fine because the fish
they've
eat
got
artificial
the
better.
beaches, so the
They
guys
do.
that fish, say, Sanibel to Inglewood, or even up, Lemon Bay, even Venice, a lot of those guys are getting beach bait. They're getting in the sand washes on the beach, and a lot of times that's where they get their bait until the bait moves in and gets in areas like Devilfish and Cape's Point and Bird Key and other locally known bait places that generally will harbor a lot of greenbacks. But in general, though, cut bait down there works really well because you do a lot of pothole fishing, you do a lot of shallow water fishing, and sometimes with a live bait that can be tricky. And it's nice to be able to throw out. We talk about all the time keeping the bait in the strike zone. Well, cut bait is like the ultimate keep the bait in the strike zone if you know where the strike zone's at. And so schools of fish or fishing points in isolated areas, it's a great way to do it. So
Yeah, but yeah, cut bait, man, is the key. Let's talk a little bit, guys. We're dealing with a crazy May. May is one of the driest months of the year.
I think it's our driest month. I'm not sure, but I think it is.
Yeah, and we're anything but that this week. And me and Rick were talking on the way in, and this low pressure system is somewhat confusing when you talk high pressure, low pressure, front coming in, moon. Like there's a lot of obstacles this week, and honestly,
But yesterday was good, and today
well,
was bad.
it's all about that barometer change daily. But when you have a system spinning like this on top of you, the barometer, it ain't like the front's passing.
Right.
Before and after the front, then the high pressure. This is just like, so it's kind of up in the air every day as far as the front's concerned. Like you said, new moon's going to move these fish around.
and unpredictable would be the
Very
one word I would
unpredictable.
put on it. I mean, we've all took a hit in the wallet this week with trips, and part of the reason is it's hard to it's definitely hard to make that call when you've got that sketchy weather, and especially when it's a weather pattern that's been forecasted and stretched over 3 or 4 days. It can be tough to pinpoint, okay, are we going to get a window to go do it? Are we not? Is it going to be bad? Are the fish going to eat? And so it's always a little tricky, but
You just
if you hit it at the right time, I will say this. These systems that move around,
oh yeah,
they'll trigger a bite that can be off the chain.
and they'll also
It's just
shut
a matter
it down.
of, and it'll shut it down. But if you can get in that window where it's going off, especially this time of year, and that barometer switch or that barometer drop, I mean, the bottom drops out of it.
Well, I
and
tell you-
they feed.
I'll tell you this, my opinion, and you guys might disagree with me. We're kind of a little weird this year. Like fish that are typically moving to summer areas, they're not really there, and there's still fish on the inside of the flats and on the flats. But there's areas, early summer spots that, and snook in particular, they're just not there yet. And I'm a little confused, like in the numbers. There's some there in areas, but they're not there. But they're still in the back country. I think that late winters jacked us up a little bit. And
You want,
we
you, want
had
my,
some-
you want my bet? You want my?
I think the next moon is going to
I
happen.
think bait.
It might be bait.
I think bait's the biggest thing because
Well,
going
there's
back,
bait on the
going,
flats,
well,
though.
I know, but it's not like
Not like it should be.
not like it should be yet. I don't.
Yeah.
Think, I don't think.
You're right. It hadn't
And,
made. You're
and
right. 'cause
normally
it's
that
still,
transition sort of happens
it happens
when
and
that bait
coincides.
sort of takes over the flats and those fish push out to feed, and the next thing you know, particularly the snook, they're sitting on the sandbars and they're sort of staged up to go to our local reefs or go sit in the channels or go to the bridge and whatnot and do a pre-spawn or get ready to spawn, feed hard, and go spawn. I will say though that there's been some good pods of big snook. I got one.
You prove that.
Jason Thompson got one, and
I lost one today.
What's that?
I lost one today.
And good one today. And I'm seeing a few more of them showing up. So that tells me that on some level, some of these bigger fish are starting to work their way
Yeah.
out. They're not out yet. There's some.
Well,
like
the
you said,
area
there's
you got
some key
them
areas
fish,
that we
the-
look
them-
for them, and they're
the-
not there yet.
The area you got them fish at, them fish are a little different breed, I think.
I
don't-
agree,
They,
but they
don't
weren't in
leave.
that area. They were backcountry a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
but them fish, I don't really think get out on the spoil islands and stuff. But yeah, it's just been a little different this year. And we've had different weather patterns. We had an 80-degree February, which isn't norm, and then we had 59-degree water temperature in March,
Yeah.
and fronts rolling all
Those
the way
2
through
months
May.
flip-flopped.
So yeah, they really did. So it don't.
I gotta answer that question. Jack Barabee, I found a fishing rod that says K9 on it. I read it's supposed to make your right wrist strong. Is that true? It will do one of two things, Jack. It'll make your right wrist strong, or your left wrist weak? Got to think about that one. You
Still
could be
thinking.
limp-wristed,
Very quickly.
but you could be strong, depending on if
Hey,
you're right or left.
fiddler up.
Fiddler up.
Fiddler up.
That was sitting there bothering me because I do know a little bit about K9.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A few things.
You still got a few of them rods, don't you?
Done. Gone.
Really?
I got 3 left.
Ouch.
That was a
Hang them on the wall of fame?
no. Snap them in half and put them in the dumpster. When they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah,
anyway,
so
yeah.
it's,
Funny.
you know, you just
But-
it's been a little different this year.
We had those 2 months flip-flop, definitely, and those are the 2 crucial months that kind of paint the picture for our spring. And with them flip-flopping,
There's just no normal
The weird
patterns
February,
anymore.
the weird February and cold front flattered March. I
Yeah.
think
yeah.
got everything a little wonky.
I probably
A lot of weird
canceled
words in there, but
in the last
that's
2
the best
months.
way I can explain it, Rick.
Wonky's good. Wonky's good.
I probably canceled more trips in the last 2 months on that March, April, beginning of May.
March was bad. March was just
May hadn't been real good either. May's not a month you cancel stuff. Maybe one trip here and there.
You
right.
usually just have to deal with the winds a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
but
normally
it's-
if you get shut down, it's normally like bay fishing gets shut down. You know, tarpon fishing, or if you're mackerel fishing
But
or
you can get
snapper
backcountry
fishing.
because we got higher
Right,
tides in May. And
Right.
Well, I remember, you know, May, like you say, you deal with winds, and I haven't really ventured out to the beaches for tarpon. I know they're starting to show, but this week is the week that I used to have, and I've got a little bit of tarpon this week, but I'm not booked up. But you deal with a week like this of straight tarpon trips, and you're literally just pulling your hair out because, you know,
You don't
even
have
on, even
settled.
on
In,
an
you don't have
east
settled
wind-
in fish yet.
Well, even on an east wind, you can fish the beaches, but if, like, there'll be certain times where they're stacked in on the hill at Egmont, well, you ain't fishing inside that hill on Egmont with a 20-knot east wind without it being ugly.
Brutal.
I mean, I've been out there before. I never forget, I ran a trip with Brett Gamrot, and it was just right situation. You needed to be inside. And we ran the beaches, and we got out there, and it was so rough. I was like in the waves like this, riding them. Had the motor in reverse. I seen the school of tarpon on the surface in front of me. The wave went down. They disappeared. The wave came up. I don't even know. I hooked the fish in this. There had to be 5-6 footers inside the. I mean, it was bad. Like, we hooked the fish. I said, guys, we got to go on the beach. And it's just one of the times where there wasn't a lot of fish on the beach. So you're kind of, it was a corporate group thing, and you're kind of just sitting there going, you go up and down that beach only so many times. It seemed
Waiting for them to
Two
tide
pods
to
of
push
I
them out
did
fish.
there.
that. I remember that day.
Oh,
and
man,
I'm
I
in
mean-
a baby boat compared to you. So
and
think
it,
about
it
that.
was dangerous.
Yeah,
it was like
Oh, it
I
gets
mean, I
gnarly
felt
out
like I
there.
was lost at sea, and it was just so. And then you mix the strong incoming tide, bouncing right in. I mean, it was
And
nasty.
tarpon fishing, you hook a fish, you put the guy on the bow.
Yeah.
You know, he's up there. You're trying to, navigate the boat and keep everybody safe and keep him in the boat, keep the fish on the line.
Yeah, we ended up losing.
You
We
know?
jumped them, but it was so
It's
rough.
a screamer.
Yeah,
It's a screamer. Got him on.
but tarpon are starting to show up. We're seeing some in the bay, which is nice. We're seeing some on the beaches, a little bit everywhere. I don't think they're real congested in one area or another. It's kind of a good even spread. Tomorrow I'm gonna go out on the beaches. Hopefully the wind is. I think it's gonna be blowing. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work out.
Southwest tomorrow,
Yeah, sounds like
or maybe it's southeast.
southeast. I can at least get on the
Yeah, I think
beaches
it was
and try to
south-south.
hit.
The nice thing about, I tell you, for me, and I know, guys, we're gonna have to cut it off here in just a minute. I hear the guys downstairs are getting here for the tarpon seminar tonight. But
And if you're in the area, guys, stop
Yeah,
in
stop
at
by.
Tampa Fishing Outfitters right by the stadium. I don't even know the address top of my head.
I don't, but you can click on, it's Osborne Avenue, real
Yeah.
close to Tampa
I can see
Buccaneer
the
Stadium.
when I walk
The
out.
Southwest in the
Raymond
afternoon.
James. But I will say one thing about the south wind and this time of year and this tide cycle in particular, and even just this time of year. But normally you have a incoming tide in the morning, and a south-southeast for where I like to fish isn't all that bad
No,
because
no, where you
You-
like to
you-
tarpon
Not at
fish.
all.
you can
It's
you
actually
can
this
really
might be your best win. There.
it is, and you can really get in there. And the nice thing is you're set up, wind and tide working together. You can do drifting crabs. You can do live baits. You can do the cut bait thing. And so that southeast this time of year doesn't affect me too much. But the pressure changes, rain and lightning. It's the storms that'll really get you. But like you said, getting out there on the beach and stuff this time of year, you got to be careful. you can definitely get out there and get in a pinch real quick, especially you get a fish on, and you end up, 3 or 4 miles offshore. You're hung up out there, and the weather turns for the worst, and you've got an hour-long fight out there 3 or 4 miles off the beach. That can get a little gnarly, so just be careful with that.
Yeah, and everybody tarpon fishing, guys. We've got our hill tides. Actually, I think this week strong outgoing. I know people are gonna be doing some drifts. I think it's a little early for the pass. I think we're one cycle too early for the pass crabs to really be flowing. It seems like they flow a little later, but there's probably gonna be some tarpon out there. Not to say you won't hook any. If any of you guys throughout the next few weeks are out there drifting the hill tides, it is a common thing to see 4-footers at Egmont and even Bean Point and along the beaches with that strong outgoing tide with our typical 15-knot west wind. I can't tell you how many times I've seen boats in trouble out there taking water on. If you're in a flats boat, and trust me, I used to be out there in an 18-foot action craft doing the hill tide. Me and Will back in the day all the time, we'd be out there drifting. Just be careful. Make sure your bilge pumps are working. Do your safety gear, because when that tide's ripping out and you're taking on water, you're going the wrong way, because west ain't taking you anywhere anytime soon. So always good to have two-way radio, cell phone, even a locator beacon, whatever that I can't remember that product you have.
They call it a PLB, a
PLB.
personal locator beacon.
Yeah, it's good to have something, and the good thing about out there's a lot of boats too.
Rescue Link is the name of that company.
Yes, there's a lot of boats out there to help if you get in a bind. Also, afternoon fishing the hill tides more next month. Afternoon thunderstorms or lightning, it gets hairy out there on a daily basis with lightning and storms and unpredictable. So just be safe out there. I know tarpon season's here, and everybody's out there trying to get them the Silver King, which I don't blame you. It's an awesome fish. If you haven't caught a tarpon, you really it's a fish like a bucket list fish.
It's definitely a bucket list, especially if you're a saltwater guy and you've done the snook, redfish, trout thing. It's definitely a different dimension to that.
Bring your patience.
It's bring your patience.
Hire a good guide, and let me tell you something about hiring a guide. And I don't care if you hire me or whoever you think.
You do care.
Well, I want.
You'd like to be hired.
Make sure.
I'll
tell you the thing that irritates me.
You can't.
I know a guy.
Let me ask you something, Rick, real fast. If you want to hire a guide and you've never hooked a tarpon, and you're gonna go out there, that's hilarious, ain't it? And I don't know what the big thing is with hooking 5 fish at once. I've rarely seen all 5 of them come to the boat. If you want to get a fish to the boat, make sure you tell the guy that you want to land 1 and not hook 15.
Right.
Because for whatever reason, that's the cool thing to do now is hook 15 fish and not get 1 to the boat. If I was booking a guide and I've never caught a tarpon, I'd rather
hook 1 and get him to the boat.
Get him to the boat,
than
right?
Hook 15 and never
So
get
make
one.
sure you run that by.
I think my whole tarpon system caters to that completely. If you hook 3 or 4 fish, you're never hooking 4 fish with me because I ain't got 4 rods out.
Right.
Right.
You don't mean it once, do you?
No, yeah. Oh,
Fish
yeah.
it once?
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
I've seen it.
I've seen it.
Dude,
I've seen it.
I've seen
It's
it.
It's more on
Maybe
the beach.
maybe not quite 5,
I
but I've
think-
seen
No,
a
that's
lot
a
of
boca.
I could be
multiples.
wrong, but I think it's a law that you can only have 3 tarpon rods out.
No, that's in Boca.
Boca
That's
Grande,
in
you can
Boca.
have 3. You
That's
can
in
have 3
Jacob.
rods in the past.
Yeah.
You have
Only
3 rods in the past. But
Boca.
but here's the deal.
What I'm saying is make sure you tell them guys, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen people. I'm like, what's the point? They're going this way.
If you're tarpon fishing,
100
though,
yards
if-
each,
It's-
you can't split the boat.
if you're tarpon fishing and you're a guy that's going to put out 5 rods to tarpon fish, you're asking for an issue. You're
no
asking
doubt.
for something to go wrong
No
because
doubt.
if you've never caught one of these fish, it's not like any snook you've ever caught. It ain't like any redfish you've ever caught. It's going to go crazy, and you can't explain it. I love what's going to happen. It's this monotony on the boat, and you put these rods out, and you're like, listen, guys, when this goes down,
That sounds
it's
like a train
it's
wreck.
going down for
Oh, it
real.
is.
And
I've literally
you've
watched
got
it.
a
Bink,
you've got a
bink, bink,
split
bink,
you've got a
bink, and they go.
split second for everything to go right to get connected on the fish, get everything in, get on the fish, do your thing or you're going to lose it. And
And we're going to
So-
talk about this tonight on a seminar.
That's
about
right.
James
ethics
is
and
coming.
We gotta go down.
We got to go.
Well, guys, it's
So-
been a great show. I know it was short tonight. We got to go do a seminar. Stop in last minute. We'll be doing the seminar for about an hour.
Yep.
Tampa Fishing Outfitters, Osborne Avenue. Next week, same time, same place.
Out.
We'll be coming at you.
we gone. See you guys.